Hello, everyone. Welcome to the network. Welcome to the Two Dads edition.
Wait, that's not it.
Start again. What's up, fat fucker?
Two Dads, Gen X edition. That's a great beginning.
Hey, man. What's up, fucker?
Not much. How are you?
Oh, I am really fucking good. You know why? 'Cause
Why?
Episode 1.
Episode 1. Yeah.
Our show is called.
Two Dads, Gen X edition. So welcome.
I feel like you died.
I died? What do you mean I died? I'm not that old yet.
You are
Dude,
47.
Gen X is, we're getting older, but we're not old yet.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Well, mentally, we're not that old.
That's why
We're starting to fall apart.
Well, I am Dawson, and my co-partner is
James. I'm James.
Figured I'd let him say for himself.
I'm James.
He's capable man.
Dawson.
And we are going to talk about us today.
Yeah, we're going to introduce you guys to us so that you can know who you're talking to
And why you want to.
why the fuck you want to talk to us or you want to listen to us talk. Yeah.
So we're calling this episode Doodad Gen X Edition.
Yeah, love it.
Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that button. Check us out on all major platforms for updates, previews, and more.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Let's do that as a shit.
Let's do it.
So, James, we're here to talk about us and why we're doing this and what's the whole point of the podcast and why we're doing it. And I know when you came to me with the idea of, hey, I'd love to sit down and talk and have this podcast about Gen X and why our generation has this just big.
Well, not just Gen X though. I mean, yeah, Gen X because that's who we are. We are towards the tail end of it, but we're still Gen X. We grew up with a lot of the same shit that the first ones did.
No, we're actually Zennials. So they're actually no. There really is. They actually have it to where they said basically if you graduated anywhere from 90 to 97 in high school, you're a Zennial because you're the last generation that actually had typing and still had to do computers. You actually had cars. You could actually fix the whole fucking car yourself.
Yeah.
I had to spend like $1,000 just to get a diagnostic on it.
Yeah, I'm dealing with that with my BMW.
Well, you bought the fucking BMW.
Well, no, I mean, like, I'm doing the work myself because I can.
Yeah.
And it's saving me thousands because it's a BMW.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and so, but it's not just that, though. It's also like, both you and I are divorced, and we're both dads. We had kids in our marriages, and for me, it was my first marriage because I've been divorced twice. But it's, raising like... Fuck you. But... it's the difficulty of raising kids. I mean, I got sole custody of my kids, unfortunately justified. I'm glad I did, but it's unfortunate, but the challenge of that and, being divorced twice. And for me, I'm also a veteran and I'm 100% disabled through the VA. I got hurt when I was in Iraq, ended up having a bunch of surgeries and was medically retired from the military. And so there's, those challenges and then how overcoming those challenges and how that affected the way that I raised my kids and the way that I am now, I think is a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
And I know you've been through a lot too.
Oh, I take shits here and there, stuff like that. No, I mean, I definitely grew up poor as hell. I mean, we were literally homeless for a good 2 months, it seemed like. And we're in Utah in the kind of the truest area, like here in Kansas City. It's just bad. People breaking your house. They knew my mom was a single mom with 4 kids, and she worked midnight, nighttime. And our house got broken into multiple times, and bad stuff happened. I was almost kidnapped and just stuff like that. So it was just one of those things where she just said, "Fuck it, we're getting in the car," and we left everything behind. Well, it was our house. My first stepdad actually sold our house behind my mom's back.
Oh, no.
And
what a deuce.
The people came, they go, "Hey, get out of our house." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And so that was fucked up.
Very, yeah.
We basically got in the car and we just headed east, which I don't know why, because east sucks, but...
Wait. I was born in New York.
Yeah, I know.
About as far as you can get.
Yeah, I know. That's why I think it sucks, because I know you. But like the big, Yeah, and it's just we were just driving through Kansas, and she just literally just pulled over, and she goes, "Yeah, this feels right." And that's why we were homeless until the church could help us find a place and stuff like that. But
Mhm, mhm.
I was just dealt with that, and then of course, I for me dating wise, it was just always the narcissistic, the abuser, the pining for I had that abandonment issue. Dad left, and kind of thing, and so I just always found the worst people and got married to somebody I really honestly didn't want to get married to, and ooh, we had kids and all that good stuff. So
Would hit you hard, huh?
was and I'm a restorative therapist, and you're a therapist, and then I went back to school at 36 to get my nursing, and
Yeah,
I'll tell you, man, when you go back to college when you're older,
it's
like
different.
you value every piece of knowledge. And it was just awesome. Like sociology was taught by a lady from Australia. So she didn't give a shit about American bullshit.
Mhm.
And so she actually taught, and yeah. Anyway,
Well,
so,
I mean, same thing. I went back to school at 34. Well, 36. Yeah, 36 too. Yeah, weird. Yeah, is that my divorce? Well, I started right before the divorce with my first wife, and then continued. But I got a master's degree, um, and my first year of college, when I first left high school, I had a point .9 GPA. But when I went back to school,
wait,
yeah,
point nine.
point .9.
Well, if you're in Oregon, you would still graduate.
Yeah, right.
Because apparently you don't need to read or write, do math in Oregon anymore.
No, but it was the first time away from home. I didn't have rules or anything like that. Everything was paid for. My parents paid for college and all that kind of stuff. I grew up in a different spectrum than you did financially. But like, I didn't care.
I didn't even have a spectrum. That's how far off we were. No, I
But
would
when I went
wait.
back to school, though, I had to come back from like a 1.6 cumulative GPA when I first started going back, and I had to have a 3.0 to get into the master's program, and then through my master's program, like it because that was the career I chose, and I was motivated. Finally, I was a single dad during school.
Yeah.
Um, I got almost straight A's. So
Yeah, because you were still doing it at the lake. Like you would be reading
yeah,
and stuff like that because you were close to being done. Like you were studying for your boards and stuff too, right?
yeah, for the NCE, so National Counselor's Exam. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well,
But yeah.
what's your goal for this show?
Well, one of the things that I have, so as a therapist, as a counselor, there's actually a lot of, so about 2/3 of my clients are actually men, which is not common. And a lot of first responders, a lot of veterans, things like that, and a number of men that are going through difficult marriages or they've gone through divorces, things like that. And one of the things that I recognized is we as Gen X men, especially, we don't really talk about the shit that we endure.
Well,
We just kind of put up with it.
well, I also think that's actually
Men,
generation us and prior.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you bog down and get the shit done, kind of thing.
Right.
And
I mean, even, I've had multiple surgeries and stuff and, I hurt all the time, but I still am installing a hardwood floor. But, there's stuff that has to be done. And so you do it.
yeah. Well, that's kind of how we've always been. It's like, and I think what's nice that I've learned is if I say I'm going to do it, I do it.
Yeah.
So be careful not to ask me to do something you don't want me to actually do.
Right.
Because I'll do it.
Well, and there's also the challenge of like, I've wanted to give my kids certain things and I've told them about, hey, I want to do this and this with you. Like I've wanted to take my kids back to New York. I haven't been back to New York since I was 12. Um, and so I wish
That is why you're not a liberal.
that might be just kidding. But, I talked to them about going back and showing them where I grew up and showing them the city and stuff like that, the things that I remember, and I have not been able to do it. And
Well,
so there's the disappointment too that I've had to deal with. And so, I think there's a lot of the experiences that you and I both have had, being single, being divorced, having kids, the challenges of restarting a career basically that a lot of people have experienced, but we don't really share. We don't really talk about it. And so we sometimes can feel kind of alone.
yeah. And honestly, I think for a long time, that really made me feel like I shouldn't be telling people stuff. And I found myself being in healthcare that sympathetic ear, and I was always that person that like patients always would tell me stuff they normally wouldn't tell anybody else, and I'm like, why is that? Why? What about me spews vomit of tell me your life kind of thing. And it's like, tell me everything. I want to know it all. And I'm like, I don't want to know anything really. Please just take your fucking pill and go away. I mean, I don't really think that. But I mean, there are fucking times that you think that. But, it's just, and so like for me, I think this has been, we've actually recorded a couple episodes and we decided to kind of do our first episode to really introduce us
as an introduction
kind of thing. And by doing those, I think we're actually having therapy sometimes through this and learning more and understanding, okay, if our kids can hear us, they'll understand us more. Because unlike you, I was in a relationship in my marriage, I was role reversals. I became the mom and she was kind of like the dad when it came to working 5 days a week. I worked full time, but it's 3 days a week. So I could work Friday, Saturday, Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I could raise the kids basically.
Yeah.
In their early years. And so basically when they started getting fun, we could travel and do fun stuff. That's when I filed for divorce. And ironically, because of the income gaps, like how huge it is between us, and the fact that she started to do a lot of the vacations I wanted to do with my kids as teenagers, but I can't afford to do right now. It's just that's one of the challenges. It's like I really wanted to do this to maybe help them see me in a different way.
Yeah,
just that tough guy, tough dad, always
stoic and
not stoic. I mean, they're my kids are like, yeah, he's fun, but I'm also the authoritative, not authoritative, but always the disciplinary, always the one, did you get your homework done, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they come here and it's like, I expect you to, pick up after yourself and do your chores and stuff like that, where apparently they don't have to do that at mom's. And, so it's, must be nice. That's like,
yeah, no, I mean, and I grew up with, I come from a big family. So I've got 9 brothers and sisters, and we learned how to do all that ourselves. We cleaned up the house. I mean, because of that, we grew up in some somewhat large homes, and we had 2 washers and 2 dryers because there's so much laundry.
Kids, geez.
Yeah, but we learned. I mean, I was doing my own laundry by the time I was 8.
Yeah, me too.
And I remember when I was like 4 or 5 years old doing dishes, and we didn't have a dish. Like the memory that I have is we didn't have a dishwasher, and so we were doing everything by hand. And my mom cooked full meals, like pots and pans, and you got 20 dishes of this and 14 cups and 300, whatever
sporks.
But and so part of the podcast too is that some of those experiences that you've had that I've had and how we raised our kids there might be some parents out there that like the ideas and try and implement it because they hear about the success that we had or the failure that we had.
Yeah, we've had both.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think what's great about us is your dad was a lawyer in New York and you had money, but you had 10 kids. So when you had that many kids,
there was a leftover.
And our generation, I really do feel like our generation, probably in our 30s, is the last generation that will probably be able to afford a house without parents' help.
Yeah,
because houses have gotten so way out of control. Unless you go to like
way out in the boonies,
Arrowhead, Oklahoma,
either the ghetto or the boonies,
kind of thing. And so it's just interesting. It's like, how can we, show kind of our thought process when it comes to like what we're thinking, what kind of shows we want to do, where we're going to go. And of course we want to have fun ones too.
Oh, absolutely.
Weird.
And ones where we actually like, expose our emotional side where we are vulnerable.
Fuck you.
Thanks, but I don't swing that way.
That's not what I heard in the bathroom back there. I don't know how to take the clear to the throat.
Yeah.
Jot that down.
Being able to open up and talk about things, because I trust you and we've been really, really good friends for a long time and we've known each other for a really long time. But through this process, I'm going to be a little vulnerable. I feel like I'm getting closer to you and vice versa in a way that we haven't had an opportunity to before. I mean, for the last few years, as we both have struggled with things, we've talked about, more intimate stuff, but I think this podcast it's a good place for us to actually share that with others too, whoever might be listening.
Well, it's really funny. I have to share something because I don't know if our producer Jason knows this, but um,
Great guy, Jason.
so what's funny is, we go down to the lake every year as kids with our friend Alex, who's up in Liberty. That's where you guys are from, and I'm down here in Shawnee.
Well, he lived in Chillicothe.
Well, yeah, even farther. Yeah. And it was just so funny as kids, teenagers. We go down with like 40 of us kids staying in this tiny little house, and
my parents never let me go.
Very few of us. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 relationships out of the 40 people. It's like there was never any like make out sessions or anything inappropriate. It was just us hanging out, being funny, being at the lake.
Yeah.
Well,
it was an innocent time.
I really met you at like EFY
mm-hmm.
kind of thing, and he was much skinnier.
Hey,
more hair.
I'm losing weight on a diet.
Beard. And so it's funny because, like, when I saw him in the lake again, he's like, "Hey, Dawson." Junior, they used to call me Junior because I'd carry on a guitar with one string and I'd play songs until Adam Sandler got popular and kind of took my fucking stick. Thanks a lot, Adam. But so
ever want to come to the podcast and talk about that with Dawson?
Yeah, come on in, and he probably would actually. That's how cool he.
Man, that'd be so cool.
But it was funny when you posted a picture of yourself back then. And I go, "Oh my God, that's James." That's who James is.
Yeah.
I was like, this whole time, like, God, I'm a shitty friend. I don't remember who this guy is, and we're so close. We've grown closer over the last 7 years, and it's just funny. I just every once in a while it pops in my head, and I go, "God, such a douchebag."
So,
but yeah, it's pretty funny.
You are kind of a douchebag. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally.
In a good way, I think, sometimes.
Is there a good way to be a douchebag?
If you fight for your patient's rights. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Well, then you're not a douchebag then.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, because, Batman's kind of a douchebag, but he's a good guy.
But that's just his persona when he's not Batman.
Well, Bruce Wayne's kind of a douchebag.
That's what I mean.
Oh.
Bruce Wayne's the douchebag. Oh, Batman's awesome.
Is he, though?
Of course he's awesome.
In the car. It's so funny because we play D&D and my character's a ranger.
Okay.
And he's very stoic and doesn't like people. And that's how I do his voice. I'm like, I think we should go this way. Go that way. That's dumb. Shoot the troll.
You guys can go that way if you want, but this way.
But it was funny because a lot of people don't realize, like in the second one, it's like he had a cold when they started filming. And no one liked it so much that you can tell the harshness gets worse later in the movie. He goes, "Well, yeah, I didn't have a cold anymore, so then I had to try to do it, and it sounded way over the top." And I used to think that all the time, like, God, he is so over the top in this one. It's like, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think Michael Keaton was the best Batman.
Shut your mouth. I think Patton.
I liked him. Patton?
Yeah. The last
Pattinson?
Yeah.
I was surprised he did so well. Yeah.
I think his was so freaking good just because, he's Batman almost the whole movie. And that's how Batman was in year one, because he just literally just did not give a shit about being Bruce Wayne. He just wanted his vengeance, and I just loved how they did it. I love that direction of that one. But I love Ben Affleck's fighting style. It was so badass.
Yeah. I'm excited for The Accountant 2 to come out.
Oh, yeah, me too. Although it looks weird because it's like him and his brother.
Yeah, but it's his brother. That's the Punisher.
He was not the movie.
Yeah. No, he was. I think the series of the Punisher. He was awesome. Anyway, but yeah, stuff like that. I think we're gonna have fun talking about too.
And we'll do this crap where we just have sidebars. But what's funny is Shane. He was Shane in the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And I didn't like him as that character. I hated that character so much that I had a hard time liking him in anything else. Like for a long time. But I think he's awesome as Punisher.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and he has another show too that he did kind of like privately, where he goes around the world and like learns fighting styles and like highlights different fighting styles like Muay Thai and whatever else. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Check it out. And if you want to say on the podcast,
come on the podcast. Come on out. That'd be great. Yeah. I'd love. Let's get all the defenders in here. Kind of like Heroes for Hire. So, like, funny, Speaking of Punisher, like,
Yeah.
would you fucking go Hail Mary if someone kills your family and kids?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Me too. Like, you raped my kid, you're dead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's
Well, I was
evidence on there down the road for the jury and everybody, but
well, they have to find the bodies.
and the weapon.
No. I mean, like, so being in the military, one of the things that I kind of had to come to grips with was the option or the possibility that I would have to take a life or that I would die, right? And so, like, when I first got in country, one of the things that happened was like you fly into Kuwait first, at least our unit did. We were there for a week. We did a couple of like rollover training and stuff like that, and then we flew into Basra, into second largest city, southern province of Iraq. Um, that very first night in the tent, because I lived in a tent half the time. I had set up my desk.
Don't drop the soap.
Right. Oh, I've got stories for that.
Oh,
Not Navy stories, Army stories. But because I wasn't Navy. But I set up my desk. It was basically a piece of plywood on cinder block, and I had one of those egg crate kind of cartons as my seat. And then I had my laptop plugged into a power converter, and I went to start a movie that I had downloaded before we left on the deployment. And we had a rocket attack that very first night.
what movie was it?
I don't remember.
Come on, man. It's the only thing I fucking cared about. What's the movie? I'm like, what movie did you fucking pirate?
Lots of them.
God, this is a community or something.
No. So funny, totally aside from the other part, but in the Haji shops, you could get like $2 DVDs, and some of them were like somebody had a camera in the side of the theater, and so the picture is like a whatever shape kind of thing. It's totally pirated stuff. My version of Wolverine, when he gets thrown over, when he rolls over the top of the semi truck, is still in grayscale.
What? That's awesome.
But here's the thing: it's not illegal in this sense. The government allowed us to bring one illegal item home, and they considered a CD case of 100 CDs or whatever, as one item. So the government supported me having all those pirated movies.
So out of all the bricks of gold that were laying around, that's what you chose to pick up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. Movies are better.
Actually,
you can only stare at gold for so long, unless you're.
Yeah, but if I had found bricks of gold, you would never know it. But there'd be signs, but you'd never know it.
Like, how did he afford that $1 million home on his 120,000 salary? Oh, I don't think that much. Senators, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, right. That's our politicians, and
yeah.
No, but so we rocket attack. You don't know how you're going to react to stuff until you're faced with it. But that mindset of I might have to pull a trigger, I might have to actually take a life, and thankfully I was not in the kind of job or in the position where I had to take a life personally. But I was prepared to. I was ready to. And so when you ask that question, would I go, and would I go nuts if somebody tried to, kill my kids or my grandkids or whatever? Absolutely. And because I know that I could create that, I know where that mindset is. I know I have that capacity. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, of course.
He talks about being dangerous.
Yeah.
Knowing how dangerous you can be, but then kind of keeping it.
Well, I mean, that's the control. I mean, that's right now we're seeing in society these idiots that are being paid to vandalize, and they have no self-control because they're being, they want to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're all delusional. But, that's the difference between wrong and right? Is what you're doing versus someone that does it to destroy someone's life kind of thing. But
yeah. Well, and yeah, it's you can, but you don't because you choose not to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yes,
a whole bunch of stolen movies.
If I
do you have a favorite movie that you stole?
Favorite movie that I stole? Debbie does. No, I'm just kidding. I've never seen that. Like honestly, I've never seen that one. No,
the old one or the new one?
There's a new one.
Yeah, it's like our granddaughter. It was really bad.
Yeah, fuck that. No, I don't know. I did. That's where I started torrenting movies too, though.
What is torrent?
Torrent. It's like so you go to these different sites where people have uploaded like movies and
Oh yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
that's
So
what I do a lot.
the torrent is like this really slow process of bringing it down. You got to be careful because there's a lot of viruses and stuff.
Like
Or
that.
yeah.
So you see all the music that way, and then they got busted. The
Well, and
music.
like Disney got they would chase down anybody
Yeah,
if they
my friend,
yeah, you had to watch out what
my
people
friend
were.
Sam, he actually like he had like terabytes before terabytes even existed.
Yeah.
Just no. So he had just loads and loads of music, and that's when the FBI started cracking down, right? And here's this high school kid that was just downloading music and he never sold it. He never sent it to anybody. He just literally kept it for himself. And he was at work one day, and his parents were like, "You need to come home because we have people raiding your room and taking your computer and all your stuff." And he's like,
Stuff.
"What?" And they were literally going to throw him in prison for like 50 years. And finally, they were able to prove that he's just using it for personal use. And the
Mm-hmm.
law is if you're selling it to make
Yeah.
money, then it's
If you're
basically
distributing or selling it or letting let other people watch it too or hear it too, that kind of thing.
so that like saved his ass. But Harris spent like $100,000 to like
Ouch. It's like my first divorce.
keep him out of prison.
Yeah. That's like my first divorce. It was $100,000.
I'm sorry. Like you also went through hell, so
I did. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah.
she's so famous she's on the internet.
But we're not gonna talk directly about that, so it's all good. Sorry. We don't need to. No, it's just yeah, it is what it is. So no, but I was able to thankfully pay my parents back for that.
Well, it's good.
But yeah, but that's another part of it. Like we've been through shit.
How?
You know, the divorces are hard, not just emotionally, but financially. They're devastating too. And you know, I got sole custody of my kids, but you shared custody.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, ideally, yeah.
But there are a lot of guys out there that, you know, their spouses, their exes, they claim all kinds of stuff.
Well, and it's sad because I actually watched, you know, my last relationship. She'd always talk about how shitty of a person he was,
Mm-hmm.
and druggy and he wanted to be a cage fighter, so he started these fights all the fucking time. And his claim to glory is he knocked out an 85-year-old in a fucking bar. He's like 26 years old, and he's
Yeah,
bragging
calling back
about
the
it.
douchebag.
And I'm like, dude, I'm like, what are you bragging about?
Right.
But it was interesting because I was a very big advocate of like, they need their dad in their life. Like
Yeah.
they need their dad.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not their dad. I learned down the road that when you're a step parent, you're more like a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Like the main parent needs to actually be doing the discipline and you support that parent. And I think what happens a lot of times when you combine families, you're either trying to take over that, and then you can't. And I learned that basically however old the child is, that's how long it takes for them to truly trust you as a parent.
Yeah.
So they say once they get to around 12, you never really can get their trust.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you just have to be a teacher and a supporter of that main parent.
Yeah.
And, I didn't learn that. I learned that down the road kind of thing. And so I literally forgot what I was talking about. But it kind of goes back to like, I really want to be able to have things we talk about that actually helps us grow, helps our kids understand us more, helps, like you said,
And hope you forgive it more.
well, maybe the listeners will understand because there's times
Yeah.
as I was growing up, I knew very little about my parents' marriage.
Mhm.
Like almost none. It's just my dad left when I was 5. He spent most of his fucking life in a fucking Star Trek books.
Yeah.
So much so he gave me the whole collection. I just basically gave them to a bookstore, and later on found out like one was worth probably $60,000. And I was like, well, somebody got rich from it because I didn't know that. But it was like the Spock Must Die one. But and
Well, it's like the GI Joe that I had that had the bazooka that shot the thing, and that's now worth a whole ton of money if you have the original one and it's in good condition.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things like your parents are still together, mine were divorced. So I love how we really are very contrasted when it came to how you grew up and how I grew up. And my mom was one of those people that she would not fucking take welfare. She goes, welfare is designed to keep you poor. And luckily the church's welfare, which 3 presidents have gone to the church and actually said, how can we revamp welfare because you guys literally you're only on it for maybe 3 months
Yeah.
max, kind
Yeah.
of thing. And that's what's so cool is that's the lesson she taught me. The male people I had in my life, I definitely, if I just had my mom, I don't think I would have been as successful. But I know my marriage and everything after that was really my whole goal was just to be the dad I never had.
Yeah.
And later on, I realized that, oh shit, now I actually want to do stuff for me.
Hmm.
At age 40, I'm like, I kind of want to fucking live life now
Yeah.
and kind of like do
Yeah.
what I want to do. And it's been interesting. And I think this is one of those things that I love that we're doing and we can get to talk to each other and get to know each other more.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think down the road, as we have guests come and join us and we can actually relate and hear more things from them. And I can't wait to do like have our kids on and kind of get their point of view and see if the reality of what we thought happened actually happened, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I think that's one of the psychological things. It's like how you perceive yourself. Do people perceive you that way? And
Yeah.
is that
Absolutely.
the reality? And that's one of the things is I think I've tried to live in a way that my perception of myself is matching what people see me as, and I know I've failed many times in my life, but that's part of growing and learning.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to get to the place where it's, I really don't care what other people's perceptions are. I'm
Well,
gonna,
I
well, no, not
yeah,
like,
yeah,
like in the sense that like, I care about how my kids feel about me.
yeah,
I want them to see me for who I am. But I want to live my life in a way that is fulfilling to me.
yeah,
And, if at some point there's somebody that joins me in that, great. I failed twice at that, but
yeah.
I'm
Well,
not totally closed the door on that, but there's not much of a gap right now. It's pretty
it's all
close
right.
to latching.
We'll get there. Sydney and I have somebody we were gonna match you with. I love.
What? You guys gonna set me up?
I mean, it might the lights might have to be off, but it's fine.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh,
Hold on.
no, but I've gotten.
I'm not opposed to it, but I am hesitant.
Well, personally for me, I've gotten so lucky. Like the last.
I know it makes me sick sometimes. How much you gush.
Yeah, sorry, gushing. Oh, I promise not to gush right now. Sorry. Eh, I'll go to the bathroom.
That's a different kind of gushing.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know which one you're talking about. My bad.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that us talking, like you and I have done privately for a number of years now, where we have talked privately about stuff that's just really important to us, and um, yeah, I have enjoyed, I have learned, I have grown through the process. It helps me, analyze and think through what I'm doing, and as I hear your shit, and it makes me think about my shit.
Yeah. Dear Bulzich, do you have skitchies on your noochies?
My cats do that on my carpets, dude. It's so annoying. I have a carpet cleaner because they keep on scooting their butts on my carpet.
It's called Dingleberry Douchkiny.
Yeah, I know it's so annoying. Anyway, I'm not a cat lady. I'm a cat man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I really want to reach out to everyone, like men that are divorced. I really have this great idea, and I hope someone steals it and goes forward with it, or maybe we can do it down the road. But I'd love to have like a company that actually has like a hotel or a 10-bedroom place or whatever. And it was basically called Just for Now. And it's just to help new divorced people, just men
Yeah.
that are financially trying to get on their feet or have a huge financial disparity between the wife and the husband, and they're being raped by the court system, and they can barely afford Roman noodles because they're giving all the money away.
Roman noodles?
Yeah, Roman. I call them Roman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Roman noodles. Okay. And they're not English or something. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that was not Roman either.
I think Roman just sounds like this. How you doing? What's up?
Yeah.
Um, and I just thought it'd be cool because I know when I got divorced, it just would have been awesome to have like something to just listen to or to just kind of help get out of my head
Yeah.
of the Yeah. I got to start over again. Oh, I got to do this. Will my kids like me? Will they love me? Will I create the environment that they want to be with? And it's just, I hope that us talking about things and different concepts and stuff like that, it will kind of reach the audience.
Hopefully when people listen in, they if you catch our podcast, if you decide to join us, and hopefully you see insights in a way that maybe you haven't before because of our experiences, because of our perspectives, whatever it might be. But um the challenges, yeah, we've gone through divorces, but we went through on the dad and male perspective. There might be women out there that listen in, and they didn't realize some of the stuff that either their dads went through or maybe their exes are going through, and maybe it helps heal some of that, and people can get along a little bit better and actually try a little bit harder because of those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have, at watching how Amanda dealt with her ex and just
No names.
I don't give a shit. What's her name? Her name has been, and how bad she treated him, and later on, kind of figuring out, I really think it was her. I think she was the
Yeah.
thing that drove him crazy to do a lot of the crap he did.
Mm-hmm.
To the point, like the guy was so self imploding, he actually would start doing really well, and then just do something really stupid because like his kids didn't want to come that weekend. And like I know how gut wrenching that is
Yeah.
to like buy a house and spend thousands of dollars to set something up so they want to come and be with you. So you're trying to create this environment and they're like, yeah, I don't want to come. And that's just gut wrenching and it's hard. And it took time for me to cope with that and understand it and not take it personal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was really hard. And I hope we can reach an audience that maybe the women will hear it and go, oh shit, maybe
I should think about this a little differently.
tell my kids to go and spend time with them, kind of thing. Or the young kid that's just got married and they're doing great, and then they have a baby, and then they're kind of drifting apart, and they're thinking, "Oh, my wife doesn't love me," but they do. They're just keeping the kid alive, man. It's like
Right.
kind of thing. But and then we'll have fun stuff too, and go in between. And I'm just really looking forward to doing this journey with you and our audience.
All right, man. Love you, bro.
So yeah, thanks for joining us, you guys. I hope you enjoyed getting to know us and getting to know where we're going with this. Join us next week when we actually talk about embarrassing stories with girls and dating. And remember, this is for our entertainment purposes, but we really hope you enjoy it as well.
And visit our website to become an exclusive member for behind the scenes content and discounts on merch. Don't forget that like and subscribe button. Hit it
Hard and a lot.
That's what she said.
Shit. You did we two-dash that shit?
I hope so.
I think we did.
Man, I think we did.
Stay classy, Kansas City.